Malison: The Cursed City is a fantasy survival horror RPG published by Devolver Digital, currently in development, in which you investigate a sinister city filled with hundreds of grotesque monsters, demons, and weirdos. It focuses on exploration and atmosphere. Its main influences are both classic Western RPGs like Baldur's Gate, Japanese RPGs like Final Fantasy, as well as survival horror games such as the Resident Evil and Silent Hill series. As you sneak through the city, you encounter all sorts of strange characters, many of which you can speak to, trade with, recruit to your cause, steal from, or even attack if you so choose. You can approach this game in a million ways. It's up to you how you plan to survive. Your actions may lead to wealth, disaster, betrayal, or may even lead to uncovering some of the city's darkest secrets and the game's many hidden endings. The main character is no powerful hero. You awaken in the city transformed into a weak, frail goblin, and may need to rely on desperate measures for your survival. You will likely need help from other survivors you meet, and it is up to you to decide who you trust and recruit to your cause. Combat is in a classic turn-based style with a focus on managing scarce resources and building unique strategies by recruiting all sorts of different party members, equipping them, and teaching them new skills. Monsters move closer to you during combat, increasing the threat and tension as they begin using their more devastating attacks. You do not want them too close. I stream development work of Malison Tuesday to Friday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch. I also have new development update streams on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. EST. There is also a Discord you can join for the game. Check below. Hello. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's annoying. It keeps doing this. It keeps just forgetting that this is the mic to use. It keeps them. Whoops. Sorry about that. All right, folks. Hello. Yeah, it keeps doing that. All right, folks. But yeah, I'm back from vacation. I was away for 5 days, and I was visiting some friends. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We went to see Snarky Puppy. We went to Medieval Times. We ate at some good restaurants. Today, actually, on the final day, we went to the Philly Aquarium, the Philadelphia Aquarium. That was really fun. Yeah, that was a good time. That was a good time. There were a lot of good fish. I took a bunch of nice pictures. Yeah, there was one place full of little shrimp. That's pretty good. There were penguins. There was a hippo. There were actually 2 hippos at one point. Yes, I got some spicy Doritos. That's right. My friend got me. My man hooked me up with some spicy Doritos. There was a humphead wrasse. There was a humphead wrasse in one of the big tanks. That was pretty cool. There was a bunch of things. Some jellyfish. There was there was a little there was like a big vat of horseshoe crabs. That's fun. I wish there had been just a little bit more crabs and a little bit more jellyfish in there, you know? A humphead wrasse. There we go. Yeah? That was a fun one. Yeah, that was good. No spider crabs. There were only there really weren't. There was not a big focus on at least from what I saw. There was not a lot of there was not a lot of crustaceans. There was there was the stingrays to pet. Yep. Like the closest, the best crab-like thing that I got there was actually a tailless whip scorpion that was hiding under a rock that I didn't actually really see. That I could barely see. You know? So there was not a big focus on on the chitinous creatures. Yeah, it would have been cool to have a big crab. Still, took a lot of fun pictures. It was good. All right, so tonight, what I want to do. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of little things. Lots of little bits of. Lots of little bits. Lots of little bits of polish I need to do. Thanks for subscribing. It's over. And Dimera earlier. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I did get to pet a horseshoe crab, a sea star, and an urchin. One of the coolest little tanks was actually a tank full of weird anemones. Weird anemones and just really like gnarly looking anemones and polyps. Just a bunch of really weird and colorful ones. Also, of course, there was a bunch of penguins. They're adorable, of course. But yeah, so there's a few things. I don't think I want to dig down into bugs tonight. I want my first stream when I'm back to be something a little more chill than that. So I was thinking maybe today I could just do like maybe today I could just work on polishing some of the sprites. Some of the sprites from like the new content that are a little bit under detailed. I could do Maurice. I could do Disaster. Yeah, I could do. And tomorrow I might actually. Yeah, tomorrow I might fix some other stuff. I'd like to do a little bit more work on the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet has some stuff that could use a little polish. I want every battle in the Gauntlet to be interesting in some way, and there might be some battles that are just a little too hardcore. That sort of like kind of railroad you to a very specific strat. So I want to be careful. I want to be careful that nothing in the Gauntlet is so difficult that it really railroads you. So I want to be careful about that. I want to tone down a few things. And also some other battles are probably a little too trivial, even in curse mode. So I want to raise up a few battles that are a little too easy, and tone down a few battles that are a little too hardcore. And another thing I want to do eventually, another thing I want to do for the Gauntlet is I want to add a bit more options on how to progress. So I want to add a little bit more things that are like optional, so that you can choose your battles a bit. So you can kind of like on every floor, you could sort of like ignore one battle that you don't like, you know? So there's a little bit of flexibility. I think that should help add a bit more flexibility to like the kinds of parties that you can do the Gauntlet with. Because yeah, right now you kind of need to make a party that can deal with everything. And yeah, if I balance it out a little bit better, that I think that kind of thing could let people could have a bit more like flexibility to how people approach the whole thing. But yeah, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, there's a few things I want to tone down a bit. So all the battles are here. One of the ways I'm going to add more options is that I'm going to add more battles without increasing the number of keys you need. So you can get a bit more keys on every floor. So if you do an extra fight on one floor, you might not have to do one of the fights of the next one, But I would probably make the extra fights of each floor particularly tough. So it's less So there would probably be like an extra fight that gives a key on this floor here. I'm probably also gonna tone down the Disaster a little bit. The Disaster's probably a little too tough. Again, the issue isn't necessarily that it's difficult, but more like that the kinds of parties that can take it down are probably too narrow. I want to set it up that there's more
You know? Yeah. I just wanna add a little more flexibility to how you can approach them. Because when something's too hardcore, like you reach a point where there's really only one way to beat it, you know? And there's a few items that you absolutely need and all that. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping that with some tweaks, and also another thing, I want to add more absurd challenges to the bottom floor, right? So I want to add a bunch of stuff to the bottom floor that you don't need to do, but that are like absurd challenges. And if you do them, that's like, I don't know, it'll give you like some kind of bonus. Or it's just going to be bragging rights. Like some really, yes, double Comatus is one I'm thinking of. Fighting two Comatuses at once. And they probably have different poses at the same time. And when there's a shift, like both of them shift to different poses. I think that could be kind of ridiculous. I kind of like it. Yeah, stuff like that. Like, yeah, really crazy fucking pairs of battles. I think could be a lot of fun. And yeah, I think those would be on the bottom of the gauntlet and completely optional. Um, but yeah, so I think that could be fun. Yes, I think that's fun. Like stuff that's completely insane. I think is a lot of fun. Um, and I think putting them at the bottom of the gauntlet is like the perfect place for it. I think because it's like even reaching that point, you need to be not completely normal. You know, so that's kind of like to be. Like most people are never even gonna see that fight, right? But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about the gauntlet. The gauntlet is just a fun place to just mess around with like extremes of the like huge like extremes of the game's combat system. It's fun. It's just fun stuff to mess around with. I will consider adding an achievement for the gauntlet if I can make the gauntlet. If I can get the gauntlet to a point where completing it, maybe not completing it 100%, but completing it, just making it through, is something a bit more attainable for the average player. Not necessarily for average players, but for like the upper end of the average players, or for the lower end of the advanced players, right? Like something that, that's not going to be like basically an impossible task for like most players. Um, yeah, yeah. So right now, I feel like it would be a mistake to add an achievement for the gauntlet because yeah, most players cannot. Most players will not beat the gauntlet in its current form. Um, but if I make it just a bit more flexible, then like beating it on normal is gonna be, or even beating it on explorer mode, that's gonna be pretty doable. Although I might actually want to remove the ability to save in the gauntlet if you're in explorer mode because you could very much get yourself stuck forever. And that's although accessing the gauntlet is kind of advanced, so I feel like if you can access the gauntlet, you probably understand how to rotate your saves and everything. So maybe it's not that big a problem. While the other places where you can get stuck, it's a bit easier to stumble upon them even if you're a beginner. So I feel like maybe I could get away with letting you save wherever you want in explorer mode in the gauntlet. I'm not sure. But yeah. Yeah, right now if you play the gauntlet on explorer. Yeah. It could be you could very much lock yourself in and be just unable to leave. Yes, I would probably put the tall man somewhere. It was actually meant to be in there. I think I just forgot to add it to Because I think with the tall man, if I remember, the tall man, I just didn't figure out which normal encounter to pair it with. Because obviously it's meant to be a cursed encounter. And I think I just forgot to make a decision on that, and it's just not added. So I would just probably assign some random other encounter to be the normal counterpart. Yeah, there's some merch right now, Fire Source. There is some merch right now. You can check out. I should probably, I kind of made a mistake. I should have added an announcement about the merch in that latest update. That would have been a good place to point that out, huh? Yes, there is merch of the game. If you haven't, if you didn't know, there is indeed merch of the game. Yeah, there's merch. There's been merch for like about a month. We announced it on like Twitter and on social media, but yeah, I guess we never announced it like on Steam or in the game itself. But yeah, there has been a merch. There has been some merch for a little bit. Yeah. Next update, I'll definitely shill it. I just need to. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, for tonight, I think I'm going to just work on. I think for tonight, I'm gonna work on Maurice's sprites. Maurice is actually not detailed yet. This isn't exactly high priority stuff, but just got back from vacation, so I don't want to work on anything too crazy. No, people are not getting it yet. This is one of these things where, they're making like one big order. Yeah, they're making like one big order. Yes. All the stickers were drawn by Oasis Commander here, who also does all of the achievement art. Yes, have people been having a little bit of fun with the weird item drops from Maurice? Maurice has a bunch of regular items and a couple rare items. I kind of put together Maurice to be like yes, there's a bunch of new achievement art that I need to update actually. So this new update coming soon is going to come with a bunch of updated achievement art that Oasis Commander has been making. But yeah, so Maurice. So the way that Maurice works, folks. So all of the regular Maurice body parts, all the different Maurices, just have a very low chance of dropping like random weapons. So it kind of becomes an infinite source of regular melee weapons, right? And it's very low chance each. It's just 1 in 16 chance each, but there's a lot of different copies of them. But one of the Maurice copies, which is random every time, by the way, one of them has an even lower chance to drop a special version of a weapon. And there are dual weapons that attack twice. And they're very... they're pretty strong. They're not like best weapon in the game sort of thing. But yes. So they drop double rapier, double machete, double metal bat. Yes, you can fight him over and over again. But he is very dangerous. So it's not a... Yeah, it's not exactly a free thing. But it is technically an infinite source of XP, of money, and equipment. Technically. But yes, it's very dangerous, so it's not exactly free. But right now it is the only... Between that and I guess the Shades are also that. The Shades are also kind of infinite resource. I could tone down Maurice a little bit. If he's like so crazy that... Also, here's a part of the secret here. Is that I think... Yeah. Like, so the one Maurice that's randomly selected to be the more dangerous one, that drops like the better stuff, also has a stronger move, Vomit. So figuring out which of them is the strong one can be a good idea. Because you can neutralize the Vomit attack, which is really, really powerful. But yes, yeah, let's detail up... Yeah, I could maybe tone down Maurice a bit, but the thing is, because he's infinite resources, like, I do want him to be kind of brutal. And also, he's, like, not actually hostile, so you need to attack him. And he's a weird creature, so it kind of feels appropriate that attacking that weird creature you don't fully understand should be very dangerous. Yes, he's pretty busted. He's pretty nasty. Recruit others to your cause. Yes, indeed. He does a lot of damage. Well, the unique version, the unique Maurice, does way more damage than the others. So most of them have 42 attack, but the strong Maurice that has 64. So you can actually figure out which... You can actually figure out which Maurice is the strong one by seeing how much damage they do. It also has a little bit more defense. So if you can take down the nastier Maurice first, he has the same amount of health. It just does more damage, has a slightly more dangerous moveset. Yeah. Yep, the copies are individually targetable. But yeah, I might tone down Maurice a little bit. We'll see. All right. So here are the Maurice sprites. These are all of the Maurices. One of them is very normal. That's normal Maurice. Ooh, our individual Maurices. At first, I was experimenting a bit with like having them animate in some way, but it didn't really look good. I could experiment with that a bit again. I could try to make it work, but yeah. When I tried it, it just didn't look right. Yeah, this game has been a good. This game has been a good playground to imagine all kinds of fates worse than death. You know, every time you make a new character in this game, it's an opportunity to create a whole new fate worse than death. A whole new, different, quirky way to be fucked. You know, that's fun. It's fun. Just a bunch of Blorbos to just make a bunch of Blorbos suffer. Really. I think the wholesome part makes the horror work better, you know? Knowing that, that sometimes things do work out, I feel makes it a bit more painful when things don't work out, you know? Kind of makes it feel like maybe you could have done something. If the game is just completely bleak, then, when a game is completely bleak, like completely wholly bleak, you kind of don't really have a hope that you can save anyone, you know? Like, you kind of expect everything to end the worst way possible, right? So whenever something's suffering, you just kind of, you just kind of know how it's going to turn out. But if the game's a bit more hopeful, it's if the game leaves you guessing a little bit, it kind of hurts a little bit. It kind of hits a little harder when horrible things happen.
Oh no, it's time to stretch.
So, how have people been enjoying the new juice box content? Is it making more people opt for Zarya and Monty a little? I wonder how much the usage of various party members have shifted from this update. The juice box thing was the idea from the start. Like that was a core idea. That was always meant to be Zarya and Monty's ultimate move. Was to just call this, like, that's why juice box was added originally. It just was added before I could actually put in the thing that was the entire purpose of that guy, you know? I'm glad people have been enjoying. But yeah, I mean, the initial idea for Juicebox, before we really had the character really written in any way, like the initial starting point idea of Juicebox was just representing how much you've lost control of your own home, that like weird characters are showing up that you haven't invited, you know? Like, that was meant to be just yet another straw on the camel's back. Sort of goading you to try and kick out Zari and Monty. Just making it feel like you've completely lost control of this situation. That this random guy fucking shows up. But then the idea is if you stick with it, it actually turns into something useful. You know? If you push through, if you decide to stick with it, even though it feels like you're completely losing control of the situation. You know, in the end, they are helpful. And even that weirdo that shows up is helpful. And then maybe you even grow to like that weirdo that showed up, you know? You turned out that, you know, maybe he's not so bad after all. Or maybe he kind of is. It's complicated. You know? Yes, the card trick was meant to be sort of like the one event that kind of... that was meant to be sort of a turning point before the actual ability makes it in. The card trick was meant to sort of... you know, most of the other interactions with him are just mostly off-putting. Or making him seem like he's just going to trigger another game over event. You know? Making you kind of afraid of interacting with him because you don't really know what's going to happen. At one point, the plan was actually to make that even worse. To have Juicebox just be the first of many characters that show up randomly. With one of the ultimate expressions of that being that at one point, like, you wake up and you move around and some big guy in a towel walks out of your like some big guy you've never seen before in a towel walks out of your bathroom and says like yo or something. Yeah, it's that kind of vibe of feeling like you've completely lost control of that place. Like this place just belongs to them now, basically. They've just made themselves so at home that they're just inviting people left and right and don't bother to ask you. To really make you feel like this is no longer like a safe place. I didn't have like a specific idea of exactly what that character would have looked like. But I mainly just imagined like a big guy. Like a big guy like with a bunch of tattoos, you know? Big tattooed guy. And like some of them would be rude. Like maybe one guy that shows up would attack you if you talk to him. And if you kill him, like they'd yell at you or something. So do people like strategically enjoy the juice box stuff? As it felt like it's actually useful? It's a little random. And of course, like when something's random, that kind of hurts its usability a little bit. But if you know how it works, then you kind of know a little bit what's going to happen. Yeah, having them even more disruptive would have been good. Oh, one of the things I'll be fixing is I'll be messing a little bit with Lei looting your fridge. I'll be messing with that a little bit, the balance of that. In cursed mode, yeah. Yeah, I talked about it on the Discord a little bit, what my plan is. I'm thinking she's going to need just a little bit less food to start with. And the food that she eats every day on top of that, she's not going to loot food if she gets to kill something as the Grinning Beast that day. So whenever she's the Grinning Beast, if she kills something, that's going to count as her having eaten that day. So the whole point of this is that Lei can be gotten really early in the game, and because of this, it kind of really flattens cursed mode into like, all right, well, in cursed mode, you just always get Lei no matter what, because why wouldn't you, right? Why would you not get her, even if you don't plan on using her at the end of the game, you know? Like, why not, right? She just really simplifies the end of the start of the game in, I think, a way that's not interesting if everybody does it. And this change is meant to be like, okay, now you only get her in your team if you actually want her in the final team, right? You don't want her in the team if, if your final team is going to be different. You get her in the team because you actually want her against the final boss, And so because of that, the daily cost actually makes a lot of sense, especially if just using her can remove that daily cost. Because that means if you're using her, that's fine. You don't need the daily cost because you're using her anyway. But if you just leave her on the bench, then she just eats all your food. Now you can still get her and then kick her out, but then you will still have lost a bunch of food at the start. So there you go. I think that works. I think that fits the purpose, Like I want people to actually decide to get her in the team instead of just seeing that as the default option, right? Yeah, I want people who play cursed mode to be, selective. I want people in cursed mode to kind of have a plan. That's the idea. That's a lot of the decisions are about making people sort of playing in cursed mode yeah, have kind of a general idea of what they want to do. Even now, parts of the game are random, so there's going to be some parts of the game that are a little bit improvised, but that's fine. But yeah, I want to avoid, if I can, things that just feel like they're a default that everyone does. I want people to sometimes occasionally have to play without a full party early on in cursed mode. You know? Because in cursed mode, basically everyone has like a full party before they reach the ground floor. Because why wouldn't they? Like, it's easy to get a full party before the ground floor if you know what to do. And everyone playing in cursed mode knows what to do. So I'm hoping this sort of thing means, well, some people are still figuring out their party. And they might not actually have the full party yet. And if all the party members kind of have a cost or are random, I think that helps sort of make people's playthroughs feel different, feel more distinct. And that's that's one of the big goals of that game, design-wise, is just try to make sure people's playthroughs feel distinct. Feel like, every time you play the game, every time you do a run, that like it feels a little different, either because you decided to do something or because of how the cards fell down, because of the cards you were dealt with, like the random encounters you got. Yeah, that's the point. The whole point is to sort of get people out of that comfort zone. Like, Lei being so easily, well, at least reliably recruitable, sort of flattens the game a bit. It means everyone kind of has the start of the game play out the same. Now that it's a big cost, the idea is now there's a decision to make. And that's more interesting, I think. I'm going to tone down that cost because it's probably unnecessarily high. Because if it's so high that basically nobody goes for Lei, then that's also a problem. That also flattens the game in just another way. It just essentially removes an option. So that's also less interesting. I feel like as far as the early game, Lei was the biggest example of that, a spatula. I mean, Joel is also like that, but Joel has a cost, and you need to sort of explore or buy something at least. And Joel also needs some work to get him to be really good. You kind of need to work your way up there, getting him to devour a lot of things. So you're kind of spending a lot of time on Joel. Well, once you get to the later game, at least at this point, like, everyone has a very different setup. Because by the late game, at least, there's been so many options at this point that like, just things are different. But in the early game, that's where things can easily be flattened. That's when things start to can blend together a little bit. So that's why I kind of put a special focus on Lei there. Because she's right at the start. And she's just an easy way to get a huge power boost. Yeah, Helen and Dan as door encounters can make the early game a breeze, but you need to get lucky. You need to actually get them to show up. And, you know, people building their parties on the random encounters at your door means they get a random party every time, you know? At least random opportunities for parties. And that's good. That's a way for those playthroughs to be different. That's not a kind of a prompt for you to try playing with this set of characters this time, or that one. Yeah. No, the additions of the new rare door encounters should not have made door party. The door party encounters should be the same rarity as before. It actually should not have changed. The only one that changed is that, yeah, the general rarity of door encounters should be the same, the way that I set it up. All of the new encounters are just actually because all of the encounters now have like cursed versions. Well, it's really, I mean, they already all had cursed. I mean, Helen now has a cursed version, but I imagine, you know, if you want Helen in your party and she shows up cursed, I imagine a lot of people just load the game. But maybe some people roll with it, and if you roll with it, maybe that leads you to playing the game a little differently than you were planning. And that's a positive, I think. That's what I want. I want people to, you know, I want people to not necessarily end up playing the game the way that they expected, you know? I think that's fun. Well, there is a cursed encounter of Helen now. I'm glad people are enjoying Cursed Sophie. I'm glad people are enjoying Cursed Sophie. No, the Gamer Bro did not get one. We actually had an idea. We actually had an idea for a cursed encounter for him, but it wasn't completely solidified, and I just ran out of time. But maybe it'll make it in at one point. Yeah, they might. They might. Yeah, Cursed Sophie in part was the trickster. Yeah, part of the trickster's point is to just open up a bunch of now, I'm probably going to add more items to our pool so that the really, really busted items are a bit less likely. Because right now, her item pool is just small enough that the really powerful items are very likely to come up. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the items you get from Trickster are kind of crazy. Also, one thing too is that the number of items that she spawns with is different based on the difficulty level. So on cursed mode, she only has 5 items at a time, and 7 on normal, on survivor, and 9 on explorer. So you get a slightly bigger selection in lower difficulty levels. I like her as a weird shopkeeper that shows up everywhere. I think that's just fun. I mean, you can make a mod. You can absolutely make a mod where you can recruit her. She has a bunch of sprites. Just a fair warning, if you want to make a mod where you can recruit her, that sort of thing, adding a new party member is a lot of work, and look outside. This is one reason we are reluctant to adding more party members. It is a lot of work to add new party members, and look outside, because that means adding a whole new set of dialogues for the Mazes and Wizards campaign, adding a bunch of dialogues for like dinner interactions, adding a bunch of video game interactions. I mean, I guess you don't need to. You can just leave those blank, but you know, like if you want to do a proper good job of it, there's a lot of like work that's attached that kind of comes with adding new party members. I mean, for Sophie, you could just decide that she basically has the exact same interactions as regular Sophie does. That might be one way to make that a little shorter. Like she's just exactly like her whole self. It just changes the portrait. That might work. I mean, some of it wouldn't make sense. Some of it that would feel weird. Like also she never acknowledges, as the trickster, she never acknowledges her past life. It's up to you to decide if she just forgot her past life or if she's just like playing a character and like she's sort of playing pretend. And so she's sort of acting like she's forgot her past life because, you know, in her head she's an assassin now, right? So it's all like some sort of game, right? That's kind of what I had in mind, but it's kind of up to you. It's kind of up to you why she doesn't seem to really mention her past life. Red assimilation. At this point, anytime I name a character, at this point, all of the names, unless they're unless they're literally a pun, at this point, it's like, okay, what name have I not used yet? Because I've already accidentally reused some names. This is the biggest. Every time I'm naming a character now, the main issue is, wait, have I used this name already? And Jacob was one that I was sure I didn't use yet. Yeah, there's literally 3 Charlies. Every time I'm like, there's no way I used the Charlie before, right? Yeah. But yeah, at this point, unless the name is a pun, if I add any more characters to this, it's almost always just thinking of names I haven't used yet. Sometimes I might have a name just strike out of the blue. But at least in Malison, I can just make up a weird name, a weird fantasy name. And in a way, that's a little easier because it's kind of easier to make sure you haven't already used one. Because, they're weird names. So you don't really feel the risk of accidentally having 2 Johns. Wait, do I even have a John? See, if I wanted to make a character right now, and I decided his name would be John, I'm actually not sure if there's a John already. There's no John, see? There's no John. Or is there? Maybe there is. Maybe you just missed him. Maybe he's just secret. He's the secret no one's found yet. There's no John. Where is John? Who knows? He's not there. He's not real. Never mind. Forget you heard anything. Yeah, people liked, the Philippe and Jean-Pierre thing. Jean-Pierre growing a heart. That's right, folks. You can fix him. That's right. That's right. Moth believers. Philippe can be fixed. There's a way. You gotta. No, it doesn't change the epilogue yet. I don't know if it should. I don't know if it should because that event is like so random to get instead of just being like a quest that it feels like linking that event to changing the epilogue. That wouldn't feel right. Like, you need to be kind of lucky to get that event. So it feels like it should just remain as its own thing. That's just part of the tapestry of Philippe. Of Philippe's evolution. Of Philippe becoming a person. Philippe growing from a construct created to trap people to being a person. Ah, yes, John is one of the earwigs. See? See? So easy to miss. See? Look. Even you fans didn't see it. Huh. See what I'm talking about? It's not so easy. I kind of like the badass mushroom being a little goofy. I kind of like the little roller coaster of emotions of that fight. I think, he's both goofy and badass. That's like his whole thing. New music isn't completely out of the question, but new music is now definitely never getting into soundtracks. So that's gonna cause some frustrations. So that sort of gives a bit of a chilling effect to adding new music. Because people will definitely complain if new tracks that they really like doesn't make it to the soundtrack. Yes, there are some plans to add more things to the boss rush. The other music guy did not quit. There's actually new music. There's actually new music from non-collision object in this update. A party member, Maurice. Where if you have any free slots in your party members, he just fills up your slots over every turn of battle. Oh, yeah. The most fun cursed encounter to conceptualize. I mean, I think at first it was the hallway mimic. This one's actually been... This one was one of those that's been planned for a while. I always wanted to have... Like, the whole reason to have an encounter where there's no one at the door was to be a setup for that. For when you think there's no one, but then spooky. The cursed version of the priest of Father Andrew. This one didn't really have much of a concept to it. I had at one point some idea of like making like the cursed encounter with Father Andrew sort of do the opposite, like an opposite blessing that makes you way more likely to get cursed encounters for 3 days, and I might still do that. Like just a weird backwards version of his normal encounter. Might be kind of fun. And in certain cases, might actually be something you want. Like, for instance, if you want to ensure that you get, if there's some cursed encounters you absolutely want to get. The eye is just supposed to be a jump scare. The classic, you look into the eye hole and there's just a big eye looking back at you. It's startling. There were a few ideas for different ways that can go. There was ideas for a non-cursed version of that, where, like, there's an eye, but it's actually just a guy, instead of just being a giant eye there. It's just a guy that was looking back into it. But I didn't actually have much of an idea for what that guy actually wants. So it didn't make it through. Yeah, hallway mimic giving some kind of reward would be nice, since it's a really difficult fight. The Earth got a gigantic crater on it shaped like a paralips. There are no survivors. But also an image of the Earth with blushing. The Earth is blushing. but on the surface, it's just devastation. How long has the bus rush been planned for? The boss rush has been planned for about 16 hours before that update went up. Yes, this was not one of those long-term plans. This was a, this update has been going really smoothly. I feel like I'm not scrambling to get things done. Let's do something really stupid. And add a whole fucking new area again. Nope.
No, it's not.
It was not a long-term scheme. It was just a stupid idea that I then grew to like, because that meant I could start putting together a bunch of enemies that have never been together and just kind of have fun in a more gameplay sense instead of a story one. Sometimes it happens. What Lovecraft games have I played and I recommend? That's not easy. I feel like most Lovecraft games I've played are kind of mid. Like some of them have really good moments, like Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth is infamous for having a really good sequence early on, but the rest of the game is not that great. Let's see. Scald Against the Black Priory isn't explicitly a Lovecraft game, but it's a very Lovecraftian game. Like, it's obviously going for Lovecraftian, and it's really good. So I would recommend that one. If you like CRPGs, Scald is a very good one. Like it definitely nails the atmosphere and everything. Yeah, Bloodborne is you're right. Bloodborne is basically a Lovecraftian game. I mean, it kind of hides it. Feels more like a werewolf game. It gets into cosmic horror sort of late. It's sort of like a late game twist that it turns into cosmic horror. It's a good twist, but that does make it, bit of a spoiler to even bring it up in that conversation. But I feel like everyone knows at this point that Bloodborne turns Lovecraftian. But yeah, early on, Bloodborne is meant to make you think it's a werewolf thing. But then over time, sort of progresses into something else. And that shift over the course of the game is kind of part of it. It's kind of a core part of it, I feel. But yes, Bloodborne is extremely good. It's probably I still think it's probably the closest thing that FromSoft has made to like a perfect game. Even though it's not a perfect game, it's like the closest thing to one. It's really, really good. But I mean, you need to be in the mood for a Soulsborne type game. Not everyone is into those, or not everyone is always in the mood for one of those, but it's very good. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem is very good too. That's another Lovecraftian game for sure. Again, not explicitly Lovecraftian. It kind of creates its own little world. It might be a little tricky to play nowadays. You can really only... I don't think there's ever been a port of it, right? Has there been like a PC port of Eternal Darkness? I don't think so. But yes, Eternal Darkness is a very good sort of classic survival horror game, but in a lot of ways it feels more like a point-and-click adventure game than a survival horror game. But it's definitely a survival horror game. And I mean, those two genres are connected. But yes, Eternal Darkness is quite good. Yeah, it's not, again, not literally Lovecraftian. Like, it doesn't, it's not the Cthulhu mythos thing. But it's obviously inspired of it. It's very much in the same vein. There's some key differences in tone. It's not quite the same. But, there's a lot of things in common. Let me think. The Sinking City is another interesting one. It's another interesting case. This one is actually the opposite. Like we've mentioned a lot of games that are Lovecraft-like, but not actually Lovecraft. The Sinking City is the opposite, which is really interesting. It is actually Lovecraft. It's actually Cthulhu mythos, but it's not Lovecraft-like, which is super weird, and it's on purpose. It's not like an accident. The Sinking City is so weird. It's really good. I really like it, but it's like a weird game, and it's not going to be for everyone. It's like an investigation game by the same people who made all of the a bunch of Sherlock Holmes games, and it's an investigation game in the same way that like the Sherlock games are. So you have to do like research. You have to you look through documents, and there's a lot of stuff like that. But it's a Lovecraftian game, and you're like in a city, There's Dagon, and you fucking talk to someone who's almost certainly Aster or something like that, because he's like, there's clearly a bunch of Lovecraft shit, but the tone is completely off. The tone is almost funny. Like, the tone is so odd. It knows you expect a Lovecraft game to be a certain way, and it kind of messes with you a bit. And it's really interesting that it does that. It's really good. You just need to have an open mind for it, tone-wise, because it's probably not what you expect. It's funny. It's like a funny game. It almost like mocks Lovecraftian horror, sort of. Not really, but it kind of does. But it's like, it feels like a playful ribbing, Yes, World of Horror is really good too. I played it really early when there wasn't that much content with it, so I haven't seen too much. Like, there's a lot I haven't seen of World of Horror. I played it like really early, but I did like it. Yes, it's very good. It's like a weird like raising sim / RPG / Uzumaki simulator. It's Lovecraftian, but very specifically Junji Ito, like specifically Uzumaki. There might be references on tweet and hints to the other things too, but yeah, so see what I mean by saying like it's kind of weird to recommend Lovecraftian games. Like, a lot of them are You know, you kind of have to explain exactly how they're Lovecraftian, and there's a bunch of different ways to be that. And they're not always like compatible. And sometimes there's big asterisks. I would say out of all of the games that are like explicitly Lovecraftian, like actually like Lovecraftian, I would say The Sinking City is the one I would recommend the most. But it's tonally so weird that it's probably a bad recommendation for someone who just wants an actually Lovecraftian story. But yeah, it's complicated. You know, a lot of times it's more like it's cosmic horror instead of necessarily Lovecraftian. Some characters just like to play with that world, but might go for a completely different tone. And some people might just draw the tone, but then change everything else. Yeah, it's a little complicated. I would say Fear and Hunger is Lovecraftian. I would say there's a little Lovecraftian in Fear and Hunger. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a very strong element of it. It's more like, you know, like there's bits of it. Darkwood, yeah, I would say Darkwood is definitely Lovecraftian. I would say so, yes. Again, not explicitly so, you know, but you know, it's there's cosmic horror in that for sure. Yeah, I mean, like Mahabre has kind of a vibe of you know, I mean, Mahabre obviously has a vibe of, you know, an Orlando, but also you know, the lost city of the gods kind of thing with the sinister secret and the otherworldly. Yeah, but I don't know if, yeah, like one of the characters, like if he becomes like a god, he like becomes kind of like a king in yellow. But I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that's more of just like a literary nod or if there's like, you know, like, oh, like it's, some of that might be more just like a nod, like a, yeah, literary nod and not really something that's intended a little deeper, you know? Like, I don't know if that really necessarily makes it a Lovecraftian story, you know? Like, sometimes people just like making nods to literature. It doesn't always necessarily. But I mean, yeah, the idea of like, of the experience of the game and sort of you sort of touching the divine sort of makes you unable to return to normal life because your brain is now just forever changed by the experience, you know? And that's definitely sort of part of that. Now, again, I haven't played the second game yet, so I can't comment on how Lovecraftian the second game is, but yeah, I mean the idea of someone being forever changed by their experience of like the divine or the supernatural or the alien, like that's also like in a sense that's like, you know, like that alone could be enough to say something is sort of cosmic horror because that's like, it's like human experience. It's such a small part of the universe, and so as soon as a human experiences sort of the real larger universe that changes them completely, that changes them in a way that's they're unrecognizable as human, because that's how much, that's how little we know, right? That's like that on its own is already like enough sort of to be Lovecraftian, or at least again cosmic horror. I don't know if, when people say Lovecraftian, I don't know if that necessarily means the Cthulhu mythos, or if it's just another way to say cosmic horror, or maybe something in between. Maybe it's like cosmic horror, but with a few more specifics of Lovecraft that separates them from like the other cosmic horror synths. So I'm not sure exactly how specific the term Lovecraftian is usually. I typically I basically think of Lovecraftian as, yeah, I mean, a lot of these terms get blurry. Yeah, I guess you can also mean Lovecraftian just to describe, like, purple prose. Very evocative, overwrought descriptions of things that are indescribable, even outside of cosmic horror entirely as a genre. Like that, you could just describe that as Lovecraftian, no matter the context there. So in a sense, Lovecraftian is very wide, because it just means like what that bloke wrote. Mm-hmm. I have never read any of the Dreamlands stories. The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Yeah, I've never read that. I just know of it. I mean, actually, doesn't Bloodborne kind of have some stuff that seems to be sort of inspired more directly of the Dreamland stuff? Oh, one game. There is a game that's oh shit, what was it called again? There was that game that Marsh played. Marsh on YouTube. Marsh is a guy that plays like old RPG Maker games and also a bunch of SMT games. Love that channel, by the way. Can't wait to see the next video, whatever it is about. And at one point he played some Lovecraftian games. Some like obscure like RPG Maker Lovecraftian games from like the 90s or something. Or maybe early 2000s. And one of them was like a 2-part series. What was it called? Let's check his let's do a quick look at his YouTube channel to remember the name. That video might be basically the only way to get any sort of let's see, what was it called again? Nehan. It was called Nehan. There you go. Yep, Nehan. Come on. Come on, Marsh. Last video was 4 months ago. Come on. I want to hear about some other weird, obscure RPG Maker games no one's ever heard of. Come on. Chrono Trigger Lovecraftish? Ah, sure. I don't know. That's kind of stretching it. That's kind of stretching it. I don't know. Yeah, Marsh is really good. Love those videos of his. They're great, great videos to put in the background as you're working on a game. Garfield is more Lumpy's thing. Oh, I'm gonna do a little stretch break. Be back in just a few. All right, we're back.
No, it's time to stretch.
Oh. Never mind that. We already have the final stretch. Alright, some nice progress. Some nice progress here. Alright. Not quite done, but only 3 pieces left. And, alright, so, yeah, it was a bit of a short stream. You know, just a chill little stream for when I'm back. And tomorrow, I think tomorrow I'm going to be working maybe on... I think I'm going to be working on the gauntlet tomorrow. So I think I'll mess a little bit with the gauntlet design. I think that should be fun. The boss rush. The boss rush. Alright, but yeah, that's going to be it for tonight, folks. So thank you all for watching. Before I go, let me quickly link my Patreon. Please have a look, thank you. And let's look for someone to raid. Is anyone playing Look Outside right now? Oh yeah, there is. Let's see. The Eldritch is playing. Oh, someone here playing for the first time. Day 5. Okay. Yeah, there's a few people. There's a few folks. Let's raid Spicy Bara.
Yes.
I think this, yeah, this is their first playthrough, so careful about spoilers, folks. All right. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and take care.
Cook frozen fish with stew mix. Let's see what I make. You feel watched as you work.